Okay, so I thought for a long time that I would like to do a instructional video in quick play, Hunt Showdown. I have played a shit ton of quick play, so I thought I should share some of my experiences. Um, so this is some comments on tactics in quick play and also a compound tier list. That is, which compound is the easiest to defend. So as I said, I have a lot of experience. I've played a lot of quick play. I think I have like 1400 hunters saved from quick play, which I then have used in bounty hunt. And I have like about 2000 Wellsprings activated, which is top 10 or top 15 in the world. So I have a lot of experience. I'm a very average player, but I have a lot of experience from Hunt Showdown quick play. Of course, the gray out in on the map in quick play is random, but you can affect your gray out or by the pathing or your movement or your travel on the map. For example, and as you know, the most common tactic in quick play is to try to rush the clues as quick as you can, get the wellsprings first, get the wellspring to the wellspring first, and then defend. That's the most effective way if you want to win. So even if the gray out is random, but if you spawn on a double clue, for example in Blanchard, then you should try to move. You take the double clue here, and then move. If for example Darrow, Lumber, Lockbay, and Alice is not grayed out, then you move to Darrow, so that after this third clue you have the option to go left or right. This option makes your movement faster, because depending on the gray out you can choose compound which is close to you, but also the likelihood to get your favorite compound increase if you do like that. And if you get your favorite compound, then you can actually defend easier. So that if you spawn on a double. If you spawn on a single clue, for example Davant or Cyprus, then you should try to get to a second compound that has double clue, for example healing. So you go from Davant to healing, and then after that you have the possibility, if it doesn't gray out, if you're lucky, you can choose between 2 or 3 compound as your fourth clue and wellspring, and then you increase the likelihood of getting your favorite compound that is easier to defend. For example, if I spawn in Cyprus, I normally don't even take the clue here in Cyprus. First is a sound trap in Cyprus, and if I instead goes to pitching, take the clue there, then I have the possibility, if it doesn't gray out, to go to healing as my second and third clue, and then I have the possibilities after that to go in different directions, and thereby increasing my likelihood to get my favorite compound. So there's a few different defense tactics that you see people use in quick play. As I said, I have several thousands of hours in quick play, so I've seen this. The most common one is the blocking defense, where you try to lock down, for example, a basement or trap all the entrances and then hold it with inside with a shotgun or something. That is by far the easiest if you want to win quick play and get the hunter for free. It's not the most fun, but it's the easiest one, and this is the most common one. The second one, which is pretty fun, is actually, I can call it a mobility defense, when you move around the compound from cover to cover. So you move, if you get chased, you stop, you hold angles, try to get a shot when they chase you, and then move again. It's a pretty successful tactic, and it's a lot of fun. The third tactic is a long-range defense, which is a situational tactic. For example, if you happen to pick up a Mosin or some other long-range gun, and if you're in a compound that is relatively easy to defend with long range. You can stay on the roof or something. Then you can use the long range defense. So now we come to my tier list. Easiest to hardest compounds to defend in quick play in Showdown on the Stillwater Bayou map. So it's not the most fun compounds, but the easiest to hardest. And I'll start with the bottom tier, the hardest ones to defend. So I have 4 compounds on that list: Pitching, Alice, Scupper, and Chapel. And I will show you a couple of clips now why I think that those are the hardest compounds to defend. And if you can choose your pathing on the map to avoid them, you will make quick play easier to win. Alright, pitching is one of the hardest places to defend, in my opinion, or maybe the hardest. Because when you're down here, it's really hard to hear. The sound is kind of distorted and to hear where they are. So you can use the blocking defense. There's a couple of entrances, as you know, like here and over there and 2 over there. So basically you can block, but it's so big so people can use dynamite or bayonet or something to destroy them, and you don't have time to run over there. And the sound is very distorted, so it's really hard to hear where they are, if they're above or below. And if you run around in here, you can easily be ambushed. So that is why it's pretty hard to defend here. And if you are on top defending, there's which might be the best option, but if there's several enemies alive, they have many angles where they can hit you. So if there's only one left, easy to defend, but if there's several alive, then they have so many angles on you, and they can ambush you. So pitching is not my choice if I can choose to defend. Also, long range defending is really hard. Blocking defense is hard. Your best option is maybe mobility defense. Alright, Alice is also very hard to defend. One reason that it's really hard to defend is that it's very open. There's a lot of angles where people can hit you, and there's a lot of entrances. So I try most of the time not to defend from this part of the buildings, because they can throw nades and hit you and enter, and if there's several people alive, they can easily get you if you are in this part. So if I'm defending Alice, I want to try to be in here. Still, it's hard because it's a reasonably small compound and there's a lot of holes. You can be reached by nades pretty easily. So yeah, it's still pretty hard, but this is the best option. And if you're in here, if you want to use blocking defense, you can. There's a lot of entrances, but you might be able to block here, here, there, there, and there. So it's 5 entrances, pretty much, for such a small compound. Or block a few of them and try to keep. For example, this one, pretty easy to hold. If they come crouching there, you can easily take them out. So the best option in Alice is probably blocking defense. If you can't block all the angles, try to block a few of them and hold this, for example, or hold this angle is also pretty easy to hold. Mobility defense is pretty tricky because you can be hit. Of course, you can run between the compounds, but if there are several people alive, they can easily hit you. Alright, next one. So, Cypress. No, Scupper, I mean. Scupper is also pretty tricky to defend. There's a lot of holes where people can pen you, and there's not much of mobility options if you want to move around. And it's quite open, people get angles on you, they can throw in nades, and so on. So the best defense here is probably blocking defense, trying to block this one, and this one with traps. This one is pretty easy to hold, and this one is very easy to hold as well. So blocking defense, but be careful because people can pen you and throw nades and shit. So this is not my favorite compound to defend either. Alright, next one. Alright, so last one that I've had on my list for my 4 compounds that are hard to defend. It's Sheppel, Madonna Noir, and since they changed the maps in update 1.8 or something like that, they added a lot of entrances. So blocking defense now is much more difficult. Also, same as in pitching, the sound is a bit difficult to hear in the basement, I think, where people are. Lots of entrances, difficult with sound, pretty hard to block all the entrances, pretty big. So I guess blocking defense or mobility defense are the most preferred options here, but still pretty hard to defend the church here, in my opinion. Alright, next one. Okay, so now we come to the mid-tier section. I also have selected 4 compounds that I think are averagely easy to defend in quick play. It's Slaughterhouse, Lockbase, Cypress, and Elaine. So these ones are not so hard to defend as the bottom tier list, but averagely hard. I think actually these ones are also a bit more fun to defend than the hardest ones, but still it's not the easiest ones to defend. So here's a couple of clips on these 4 mid-tier compounds. Alright, so now we come into the mid-tier section of compound that I think is average when it comes to ease of defending. And Slaughterhouse is pretty good, especially if you use mobility defense. It's pretty easy to move around without getting hit. And in this compound you can actually also use long-range defense. Because from the roof here, if you have a Mosin or something, you can see people from almost all around. You can actually quite quick get some cover on both sides, and you can run in here, so you can actually use long-range defense in Slaughterhouse, and you can use mobility defense. I mean, running around between the White House and this compound here. This one is pretty hard to lock down totally if you want to use the blocking defense, but if you have a lot of traps you can do it, of course. Otherwise, moving around mobility defense is probably the big option, the most successful alternative. Here, always put a trap here. People jump in here all the time. If you have concertina and poison, they will die. Otherwise, just bear trap and they will bleed and you can easily take them out. Also trap here, and if there is a window here, yeah there is, so there, you can also block that one. Otherwise, move around. If you have a shotgun or mid-range weapon, if you have a long-range weapon, you can be on the roof there. If you want to be sneaky, you can just move around between these compounds. Averagely easy to defend this compound, I think. Alright, next one. Alright, another one in the tier when it comes to ease of defending is Lock Bay. Both Slaughterhouse and Lock Bay are pretty fun to defend. Not the easiest one, but mid-tier, I would say. So in Lock Bay you have both the blocking option and mobility option when it comes to defending. It's relatively hard to block all the entrances depending on the amount of traps, but the mobility option here is quite good actually, because you can move around with reasonable cover, try to take people out. You can have a couple of traps making it more difficult for them. You can always run around to the basement, so this is a pretty fun compound to jump down and defend. And when you jump down here you have cover, there's no one in your direct vicinity. So blocking or flexibility, mobility defense is the best one here, I think. Yeah, mid-tier, same as Slaughterhouse, I would say. Alright, next one. Alright, so another mid-tier defense compound, I would say, is Cypress. Before they changed the map in update 1.8, it was probably top tier when it comes to blocking defense, but now there's a couple of more entrances that they added. For example, this one. So it's a little bit harder now to block all the entrances, but it's a fun place to defend, and it's a very good one to use mobility defense. And this is one of the few compounds where you also can use the long-range defense. If you happen to pick up a Mosin or something from this roof, or running around between the two white houses and this room, you have pretty good view in all the directions, and you have some cover. So you can use long-range defense, checking all the angles. Always put the trap here. Bear trap concertina or whatever, they jump in there most of the time. And if you use mobility defense, where you move around and holding angles and so on, you can try to take off the first wave of opponents from the roof here. If it gets very spicy, you can always jump down and maybe have this entrance, and maybe also some trap here blocking that entrance and this one. So you only have to hold like this angle and here. This is pretty easy to open if they just shoot the hand from there, so they can easily come in here. So this can also be blocked with the trap. But if you take your first line of defense up on the roof, when there's 2-3 left, if it gets spicy, jump down here, try to hold the openings that you have not trapped, and it's reasonably easy to defend with mobility defense. Alright, next one. Okay, last one on the mid-tier. I think actually when I think about it, all the mid-tier that I have on the mid-tier list is actually quite fun to defend, but not super easy to defend, if you understand what I mean. So the last one on the mid-tier list is and some fish or whatever it's called, and this one, the best mode of defense, is probably mobility defense. You can try to block all the entrances. There's basically this one, and always put a trap on this window. People jump in there all the time. And then you have the metal door here, which is easy to defend. This one they can blow up. So of course you can use and this one as well. and you can use the blocking defense relatively easy here. And you can use the mobility defense because you can run around the 2 different floors and have reasonable cover. And you can actually also try to escape down to this bottom floor if it gets spicy inside and run around. So mobility defense and blocking defense is the best options here. Don't forget to trap this window. Alright, next one. Okay, and then we come to the top tier compounds. Actually 8 compounds out of 16, so half of the compounds I think are easy to defend. So if you can choose your pathing on the map so you end up on one of these 8 compounds, you increase your likelihood of winning quite a lot actually. And these 8 are, in my opinion, much easier to defend than the other 8 that we have been looking at. And here's a couple of clips why that is. Alright, so now we come into my top tier defense list. So these are the compounds that I think are the easiest to defend. So if you can run around the map and end up as the final or 4th clue on these compounds, I think it's easy for you to defend. I actually have 8 different compounds on my top tier defense list. It means that if you agree with that, you have a lot of choices in your pathing when you try to choose your compound for the last 2. So catfish, it's pretty easy to lock down. They did, however, add this hole and this one on the last update. But here you can put a bear trap. You can block these 2 sliding doors if you have only one concertina trap with you. That's fine. And then you can also put bear trap here for this hole. And then you have a pretty good. It's relatively small, and it's relatively hard for people to see you through cracks and pen you. So the blocking defense here is the best mode of defense. You cannot use the long range defense here, I think. And mobility defense is not the best, because if you run out you get exposed. Of course you can jump down through a hole or something down here, but still you're pretty exposed from different angles. So this compound, top tier if you use the blocking defense inside. If you have a shotgun, you are pretty safe in there actually. So easy to defend with the blocking defense. Alright, next one. Okie dokie. Number 7 on my top tier list when it comes to defending in quick play is Darrow. This is a really fun compound. I like to defend here, and it's pretty easy to defend. It's not super easy to use blocking defense to lock down or entrances, but it's very good for mobility defense. So you can move around, you have a lot of cover when you move around between the 2 different main buildings. Always put a trap here, by the way. People jump in here all the time, and normally they don't see the trap. Sometimes there's a barrel here. Always trap that one if you have allergic ones. And sometimes there's a barrel here. Also trap that one. Otherwise, using mobility defense is pretty easy here. Oh, this one is locked. You can move around these buildings and try to outmaneuver people, hold angles. You run for a while, hold angles, and try to take a shot when they chase you. So this is a pretty good one to defend. Also, always put a trap here, because people can jump in through this window and then they start bleed, or whatever trap you're using. And be careful for this hole as well. You can put a trap here as well. Yeah, Darrow, pretty nice to defend. Next one. Okay, number 6 on my top tier defense list for quick play is healing. So healing is really fun to defend. It's also quite easy to defend. If you want to use the blocking defense down here in the basement, it's very easy, but it's also a bit boring maybe. But if you want to win, that's what you're gonna do. So, put a trap here, and be careful, there's a metal door over there, and also watch this hole here. If you put a trap here, they can still jump to the side and land here and here, so this trap is pretty easy to avoid, but if you want to hold this angle here, jump up here, and you see their heads when they come walking here. So blocking defense in the basement is very, very easy if you want to just have the win, and as I said, maybe not so fun. But if you want to have a more fun game and still have a high probability of success, you can also use mobility defense in healing. It's pretty easy actually. So running around, you can run around between the basement and the main building and the church, and also outside. There's a lot of cover outside. So mobility defense is pretty easy in healing. One spot that I like to... Oh, by the way, you should always put a trap here, people jump in here, and also on the top floor of the windows, put a trap beneath the window there. One spot that I like to hold if I used the mobility defense is here. You have a lot of cover here, and you see these two entrances here, and you can also take care of people coming from here, and they can come this way. They take the stairs, pretty easy to take them down. You can also trap there. So this is a good spot if you have even a long range weapon. You can hold here. So yeah, healing, easy to defend. Next one. Lumber. Lumber is actually a lot like healing when it comes to defending in quick play. There's two options that will give you a high success of winning. If you want to use the blocking defense, maybe not so fun, same as healing, but you can block down this part easily, only if you have a few traps. One there, and one on the sliding door there, and then you just have to check these two locked doors. Very, very easy to defend. If you have a shotgun, it's almost a guaranteed win. But same as healing, if you want to have a bit more fun, run around and hold angles and so, I like to be in here. And here you can use the mobility defense. It's pretty hard to catch you if they don't swarm you from different directions. Even with a long range gun, you can actually hold a lot of angles from this part of the compound. You can do here, and these windows are dangerous to peek, but do it once. And here. And one spot that you always have to put a trap, here, people jump here all the time. So easy kill if you trap that one. This part of the compound is not possible to lock down and to use the blocking defense. Then if you want to do that, you should be in the basement. Otherwise, moving around in here relatively easily. You can also go over to this part. Of course, you're exposed if you run here and there, but if it gets too spicy in there, try to run away to this part and moving around like this. The mobility option here is pretty good. Alright, next one. Okay, Stillwater also reminds of healing and lumber, because there's a couple of good defending options. You can of course use the blocking defense by blocking this door and the door outside. Only two entrances, plus of course this elevator entrance. So you can pretty easy use the blocking defense, same as healing and lumber in here. The problem here is that there's quite a big distance between this door and on the other end. So if they blow up the trap with the dynamite, so you have to run pretty far between those two doors. But it's still pretty easy to lock down this basement. Also, same as healing and lumber, the mobility defense here is also pretty easy. You can move around, there's relatively lot of cover. You can move in many different options, different floors and different small huts and places. Of course, this building you can hold a lot of angles from here. And actually, in this compound, it's one of the few we can use also the long-range defense. If you happen to pick up a Mosin or so, you're pretty exposed up here, but you can pretty fast jump down to cover, and you can actually hold 360 with a Mosin from up here. So if there's not too many in too many different directions, you can use long-range defense in this compound, which is pretty fun. Otherwise, mobility defense and also blocking defense are relatively easy in this compound, which is on my top tier defense list. Okie doke, next one. Darrow. Yeah, Darrow also top tier when it comes to defending in quick play. Same as healing, lumber and Stillwater, there's a lot of different options for you. If you want to use the blocking defense and lock down the shit, if you have a shotgun, you can stay down here. It's very easy to defend. Just trap 3 entrances to trap plus a metal door. Very, very easy to defend. If you have a shotgun in here, it's almost a guaranteed win. Same as before, it's not the most fun way to defend, but if you want to win, that's what you gotta do. Otherwise, you can also use, same as the other ones, mobility defense, which is pretty fun and relatively easy in here. You can move around this part, you can move around to that part, and well, it's not super easy with the mobility defense actually here. A little bit more easy in the other top tier that I just talked about. But same as Stillwater, you can also, if you just have a Mosin, you can also use the long range defense here. Pretty easy to have a 360 view, but still to jump down to get cover in different directions. So long range defense is actually an option in there. Okay, next one. Okay, so now we come on actually number 2 on my top tier list for easily defended compounds in quick play in Showdown. Blanchard. Blanchard is super easy to defend. Probably one of the easiest. So you can of course, as always, go to the basement, block 2 doors, and then you have the metal door. So if you have a shotgun or even a mid-range gun in here, almost impossible to lose if you have taken the basement. And mobility defense here is also very good. You can move around between the floors. There's basement, this section and the top floor. You have cover when you move around most of the time, and you can hold some angles. Very hard to get you. By the way, don't go up in the tower. Here, it's not a good way of defending, I think. Yeah, you can run around. You can also go to the other part over here if you use the mobility defense. You This place is a good place to trap if you don't want to have the possibility to move around yourself. You can run around to this part as well, and here's actually pretty hard to catch you if they don't swarm you from different directions. So mobility defense is pretty easy in Blanchard. The easiest one in Blanchard, of course, is to just hold the basement with traps. Okay, next one. Portraiture. Portraiture is by far the easiest compound to defend in quick play. If you have the possibility to choose your pathing so that you have the chance of grabbing the last clue and get the wellspring in Portraiture, always do it, because Portraiture is super easy to defend, especially this house. So sometimes I have defended also in these two houses, of course, but most people go to this house because this house is super easy to defend. So you can use all types of defense here. Blocking defense, you have two doors that you can trap, and then you also can put a trap here. Sometimes it's even a barrel here, so if you have an alert trip mine, this one is off limits for them if they don't shoot the barrel, which they rarely do. Otherwise, the control of this compound is so easy because you have views of basically all directions, so you don't even need to have a shotgun. You can have any type of gun, dual wielding or long range or whatever. You can pretty easily lock down this compound. Even if they blow up the traps, your position here is so good that you can basically stop every kind of attack from this compound. So blocking defense, easy. Mobility defense, also very easy, because if things get spicy in here and you can't hold anymore, if you get swarmed, you can always jump out and run around with cover. You can go to different houses here and run around here, bottom floor or up there. So mobility defense is very easy. You run for a while, and then you stop, hold angles when they chase you, and try to take a shot at them. Very, very easy. You can also use long range defense here, because there's so many ways to hold the angles, even with a long range gun. Another fun thing, people often come here and they try to get in this door. Sometimes you just jump out here, stab them or a shotgun. They never suspect that. So I've done that several times. When they try to attack this door, jump out here and take them. Same thing here. They quite often come up these stairs here, so you can shoot them from here, or when they attack this door here, jump out, stab them. Pretty good way to take them out. Careful here, if they stand still over there, they can hold this window, so only peek once. If you hear them running on that, then you can peek and try to take a shot. Also this door, if they, quite often they attack from this red shadow here. And then it's only peek that window once, otherwise they can headshot through there. But from here, this crack here, you have a very good view on this shed. So you can sit there, doesn't matter which gun you have basically, and try to take a shot at them here. I've done that several times. It's a good position to defend. Okay, so Portraiture is the top of the top tier compounds when it comes to defending quick play. And that's all. So there you have it. There's my tier list when it comes to compounds that are easier to defend. And if you choose your passing right, you can actually affect where you will end up in quick play. If you end up on the green ones, you will have a higher likelihood of winning quick play. If you end up in Portraiture, it's almost a guaranteed win irrespective, not guaranteed. You can always get headshotted by chance, but anyway, it's a big probability of winning. So why should you play quick play? Well, you get free hunters without it doesn't cost anything to do it. So here's a couple of soul survivors that I've gotten through the in quick play. As you see, you get pretty good guns. Quite often, you can get Crown and King. You found that quite often, as you see here. 3 out of 4 soul survivors had Crown, so that's an expensive and good weapon. And also other guns, of course. And you get as well a lot of different traits, and you get also on average 10 extra trait points that you can spend on other traits. So this is why quick play is so good. You get a lot of free hunters, free guns, and free traits. Here's another example of hunters earned in quick play. And as you see, it's not always shotguns. There's also other guns that can lead to your win. For example, dual wielding is pretty good in quick play. If you spawn with dual wielding Caldwell, a spawn fight is in your favor because those are actually pretty powerful in quick play. And again, trade points and trades for free. And here's the final another examples of guns that you can get in quick play. And as you see, pretty good trades as well. And the last thing, why should you play quick play? Well, if you want to earn $100, I think that quick play is actually the best way. So I have more than $500,000 now, and that is basically only from quick play, because when I play bounty hunt, on average I lose money. On quick play I earn a lot of money. So this was a long video, but I just wanted to share my experience from quick play, and yeah, maybe if a new player can catch up something from this, that would be nice. Right, see you later.